We ought to bake a sunshine cake. It does more good than a big thick steak.
Hi, I'm Jill and you're watching ThermoHow, Thermomixing made easy. Today I'm going to share with you a recipe for French bread. I love making bread fresh in the Thermomix and the smell is amazing when it's baking in the oven. The thing I love about French bread is it's a little bit sweeter and it has that beautiful thick crust. To make French bread is quite easy. You'll need flour, water, sugar, salt, yeast and butter. You're also going to need a tray to bake the bread in, and you'll need some either baking paper or I've just got a silicone baking mat. If you have a thermomat, you can use that to help your bread rise. Otherwise, you can just have a large bowl which you cover with a tea towel. So let's get started. The first thing we're going to do is to heat our water to 37 degrees. This is the optimum temperature to activate the yeast. So we're going to begin by measuring in 290 grams of water into our bowl. Press the scales on, and we're going to measure 290 grams. We're going to heat that up by putting it at 37 degrees for 2 minutes on speed 1. 37, 2 minutes, speed 1. We want to make sure that the green light comes on, showing us that the water is warm enough. If it's a cold day, you might need to do it for 2 or even 3 minutes, but once that green light comes on to show the water's at 37 degrees, then you're fine to stop. Our water is now heated to 37 degrees. You can see because the green light is now on. We're now going to add the rest of the ingredients to the Thermomix and knead it to make a dough. To begin with, we're going to be adding 5 grams of yeast. Press the scales on. We're going to add 10 grams of butter. I've already measured that. We're going to add 10 grams of sugar, so reset our scales. We're going to add 520 grams of flour. And we're going to finish by adding in 5 grams of salt. So we reset our scales again. We're now going to put the lid on and we're going to knead it at 37 degrees for 6 minutes. 37 degrees, 6 minutes, locked lid position and press the knead button. Now you're going to want to keep an eye on it because while it is kneading the machine can move around a bit, so don't leave it unattended. My Thermomix has finished kneading my dough, so now it's time to take it out and put it somewhere to rise. There are a few different places you can put it to rise. It's quite warm here today, so I'm just going to wrap it in my thermomat and leave it on the counter. However, if it's a bit of a colder day, you can preheat your oven to 50 degrees and then switch the oven off. You can then place the dough wrapped up inside your oven and it will keep it warm. Another option you can do is you can fill your thermoserver with boiling water and place your varoma on top. If you put the dough in there, wrapped up in the thermomat, then the heat rising from the boiling water will keep it nice and warm and help it rise. We need our dough to be put somewhere for an hour to rise. You can also just put the dough in a bowl and cover it with a tea towel as well. But again, if it's a cold day, it might not rise as much. You want the dough to rise to almost double size, and that takes about an hour. I've got my dough out of my Thermomix bowl, and as you can see, it's nice and elastic. I'm just going to knead it together roughly, and then I'm going to wrap it up in my thermomat and leave it on the counter to rise for an hour until doubled. My dough has now been resting for an hour and it's doubled in size. I'm going to open up my thermomat and knead my dough slightly for about a minute. I'm then going to shape my bread and put it on the pans where it's going to rise for another 30 minutes. Because I'm making French bread, I'm going to shape my bread as a long baguette, but I'm also going to make some bread rolls. So I open up my dough. As you can see, it's risen beautifully. So I just want to slightly knead it and just knock the air out of it. Just knead it a few times, and then you can shape it and place it on your baking trays. Now I have lined one baking tray with just some baking paper, and the other baking tray I've got a silicone baking mat on it. Now I'm going to shape my bread in the shape I want it to bake and place it on the trays. I've now shaped my dough to the shapes I'm going to bake it. I've made one bit of dough into a long baguette shape and I've sliced it like a baguette, and the other four I've decided to make into 4 bread rolls. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to cover these. You can use a tea towel or your thermomat, and I'm going to let them rest for another 30 minutes. In 15 minutes time, I'm going to go and preheat my oven to 160 degrees. Now once the dough has been rising for 30 minutes, I'm going to put the dough into the oven and bake it for about 20 to 30 minutes or until the bread is baked through. So I cover my rolls and I cover my baguette, and I'm just going to leave them here for 30 minutes to rise again. My dough has been resting now for half an hour and has completed its second rise. I'm now going to place my bread in the oven to bake for 20 to 30 minutes or until golden brown and cooked through. You'll see that the dough has risen slightly and it will continue to rise as I bake it in the oven. So I'm going to pop this in the oven, and soon enough it'll be ready to eat. My French bread has now finished baking. You can tell that your rolls are done because when you tap them at the bottom you'll hear a hollow sound. I'm going to transfer these to a wire rack to cool and then serve them up. I hope you found this video useful, and if you have, please make sure to like us on Facebook and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more helpful how-to videos. I'm Jill, and you're watching ThermoHow, Thermomixing made easy.
Oh, we'd ought to bake a sunshine cake. It really isn't so hard to make.
How?
Fresh tears, a pound or two of pleasure.